online. Good morning, and welcome to Creative Living Fellowship Online Meditation. My name is Jeannie Sovereigns, and I am a licensed practitioner here at Creative Living Fellowship. Right now, I'd like you to join me as we go deeper, as we let go and embrace the divinity in each of us. So join me and close your eyes. Take in a deep breath and let go of everything before this now moment, knowing that the divine is right here, right now, in this space, filling each part with love and light and peace and joy, knowing that the divine is always present, in all ways here, filling our hearts, our minds, our souls, the air that we breathe. Breathe in the divine and exhale anything unlike that. And in here, we rest in God. So let's come back into our seats, back into the room, back into our bodies. Stretch a little bit. A deep breath, knowing that this time we spent with the divine has energized and blessed. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Our service will start in just a few minutes.
Good morning, and welcome to the Creative Living Fellowship online Sunday service. Please join us in our opening song, Use Me.
Use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was the sun, God is the sun, but God's so much more than the earth or the stars or all of creation. God is creator, all in all, needing us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. All that I'm saying is, command my hands. What must they do? Command my life. It's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new, and God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. And God needs us to shine its light. God needs us to shine its light. God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do.
Good morning, everyone. It is so good to have you join us for our online Sunday service this morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. Sherry F. McCreary, the Senior Minister here at Creative Living Fellowship, and it is my pleasure to welcome you here this day. We are an independent religious science church, and we welcome all paths that lead to truth. Our deepest intention here is to be a community of love, care, and connection that opens hearts, transforms lives, and expands consciousness as it transforms lives. And so we welcome you here. We do this through the principles and practices of the science of mind. And we welcome you here this morning. We have two practitioners who are holding high watch for us today. They are Peter Waring and Monica Zickus. And what that means is that they're sitting in meditation and prayerful contemplation, just holding a space for the perfect unfolding of this time that we spend here this morning. So thank you, Monica, and thank you, Peter, for your service this morning. I'd also like to thank John Stringer, favorite friend John Stringer, who was our guest speaker and musical inspiration last week, and it was a wonderful service last week. So thank you so much, John Stringer, for being here with us. And also, I'd like to thank our guest host last week, Carrie Sherman, practitioner Carrie Sherman, who served and always does serve ably as our guest host. So let's take a breath. We're back here this day, as I'd like to recognize our Sunday service team. And that would be, as usual, our Sunday service director, who is Nicole Jordan, and the assistant director, Deborah Covington, and Jill of all trades, who is also a part of our AV team. And our tech support team today is practitioner Fran Peck. So I thank all of you so much for your service here today. Oh, musical inspiration today will be favorite friend Orgena Rose. She's back with us, and that's so exciting to have her back with her wonderful music and her beautiful voice this day. She'll be with us a little later in the service. So let's take a breath now. Nicole is going to be bringing us the announcements, and after the announcements, there will be a brief gong wash. Following the gong wash, there will be a few moments of silence, and then practitioner Reverend Mary Jane Hyde will bring us our reading and our evocation. But first, here's Nicole with the announcements.
Good morning, Creative Living Fellowship. It is my pleasure, as always, to be here with you on Sunday and bring you today's announcements. Meditation is a great mindfulness practice that helps us to be present in the now. Why not join us for midday meditation throughout the week to start or support your meditation practice? Midday meditation is at noon, Monday through Friday. And then we also have a 20-minute pre-service meditation on Sundays at 9:35 a.m. Thank you, Jeannie, for today's wonderful meditation. Join us for any of these meditations through our Facebook and YouTube live streams or in Zoom. And speaking of spiritual practices, join Reverend Jorge every Monday evening and dive deep into the heart of practicing science of mind principles. Say yes to this weekly invitation to apply Sunday messages and lessons to your day-to-day life. Using the practices of contemplation, prayer, and introspection, open up to see beyond your boundaries and self-interest and transform your consciousness. You can participate in Monday practice with Reverend Jorge through our Facebook and YouTube live streams at 6:30 p.m. Get your community care and connection on with your CLF family and Reverend Sherry every Tuesday as she hosts a Zoom meeting at 6:30 p.m. This week, Reverend Sherry will be leading Conscious Conversation. If you would like to suggest a conversation topic or activity, please email her at connect@creativelivingfellowship.com. We look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. The Ernest Holmes book study is underway with Know Yourself. You are more than you think. Just what are we? What is the source of our existence? And what is the nature of that thing called thought? These three great enigmas have always faced us, and our whole life is colored and controlled by the way we answer these questions. Read the first 9 chapters and join facilitator Reverend Mary Jane Hyde on Saturdays for heartfelt discussion and connection. Tell me, how often have you thought you were doing everything right, yet still felt blocked in different areas of your life, including your relationships, career, health, or financial affairs. And with all the things going on in the world today, believe it or not, the profoundly powerful act of forgiveness may be the key that unlocks the door to freedom in your life. Research shows that forgiveness can reduce stress and depression, improve health and physical well-being, and heal relationships. Despite all the benefits, however, forgiveness is often the last thing we think of as a solution to some of life's ills. In forgiveness, the final frontier, you will learn to identify the blocks in your life, release blame, guilt, anger, regrets, and resentment, rekindle your dreams, goals, and visions, and experience more fulfilling relationships. This is a 5-week masterclass with Reverend Sherry, and you can choose from the evening session on Thursdays, starting October 14th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., or the Monday session, or the morning sessions, not Monday, morning sessions on Fridays, starting October 15th from 10 a.m. to noon. Register today. Creative Living Fellowship is a divine idea in the mind of God. That idea is seeking to be revealed to and expressed through each of us in the CLF community as we continue to expand and move forward. When we engage in the sacred practice of visioning together, we open up to make ourselves available to catch God's vision or idea for Creative Living Fellowship. And we develop a greater sense of community, our role in it, and our connection to the whole. You are invited and encouraged to be a part of this community visioning to learn how God wants to show up through us as Creative Living Fellowship on Sunday, October 17th at 11:30 a.m. The 2021 special membership meeting will be held on Sunday, October 24th at 11:45 a.m. We will be voting for new members to the Board of Trustees. So active members, it's very important for you to attend and cast your vote. And shared households will need to log into Zoom separately to cast votes. All other CLF community members are also welcome to attend. Remember, you can use your smartphone to text to give and make your contributions to CLF. Simply text the amount you'd like to give to 602-610-1868. If it's your first time donating by text, you will be sent a link to set up your account. And then after that, it's as easy as texting the amount you would like to tithe to 602-610-1868. And just a reminder, we have a new mailing address, and here it is. You can also find the address on our website and post it on our Facebook page. Our Sunday prayer room is available to you after service today. Get your after service prayer with a practitioner by heading on over to Zoom using the links provided in the comments. Prayer room participants are transferred into a breakout room for private one-on-one session with our licensed practitioners. And after service, we have Sunday fellowship too. Join us in Zoom and hang out, discuss the service, what's on your mind or heart, and connect with your CLF family. If you are in Zoom now, just stay where you are. Otherwise, use the link at the end of service to join us for fellowship. You can find the links again for this in the comments or on our website under our events, under our Facebook events, or in your weekly newsletter. This goes for all of our other events as well. That's it for today's announcements. It is now time to move on to our gong wash, followed by a moment of silence.
The reading for today is Our Need for Forgiveness from Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes, page 400 and 401. We are all human beings, and we all have made mistakes. We all carry an unconscious burden of guilt, and we all need a sense of being forgiven. One of the most revealing things in the new science of mind is our need to feel that we are right with God, with life, and with each other. No one can feel one with God when they hate anyone or anything. You will remember that in the Lord's Prayer, Jesus said, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." For he knew that it is only as we forgive that we can be forgiven. At first thought, this looks as though we are bargaining with God, but such is not the case. God is life and love. And how can life and love flow through us if we stop them at any point? It is not because we bargained with the Almighty that Jesus said, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." The real reason is that it is impossible for us to have a sense of being forgiven while we condemn others. And now we are putting the proposition in the only place where it can be handled, within ourselves. For when there is nothing in us that will condemn others, then there will be no condemnation left toward either the self or others. It is then and only then that we unblock the stream of life, which so freely flows to all and through all, when we permit it. So as we bask in those words, those beautiful words by Ernest Holmes, the divine as it flowed through him, the spirit, the one, as it flowed through Reverend Sherry as she chose this reading for today. As we just bask in these words, we know that it is God. That energy, that feeling is God. Because God is one. We are all one in that. We are individualized expressions of the one, and that one is God. And so we experience that. Oh, when we see the laughter of a child, When you spend a moment with someone in sadness, maybe in tears, when we're with friends and we're laughing, when we're with friends and we're just sharing, that's sharing. That is God. That is the energy of God as it expresses through us. And that is the energy of God that is expressing right here, right now, through each person that is involved in this service, each person that is here participating in this service. That is the energy of God. And that is what Creative Living Fellowship is all those individualized expressions of the one. And it is one. It is one. And so, as I say these words, I accept that divine presence, that presence that is expressing through each person, that it is felt, known, and fully realized. And we are fed spiritually as we interact with each other and as we hear the words of Reverend Sherry, as we hear the song, as we just listen. We are spiritually fed. And we are fully present in this divine stuff that is us. I'm so grateful for this. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here. I'm grateful for the words, for the participation, for knowing Creative Living Fellowship as each one of you. I am grateful. And I know that all is in divine order. And so I just release my words. I let go and I know. And together we say, so it is.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, CLF. It is so good to be with you again, sharing this beautiful time of musical inspiration. I'm excited about the two songs I get to share with you today. One is a beautiful song by India Irie called Wings of Forgiveness. And the song I will be sharing first is my song called Forgiveness, this beautiful theme that is perfect for our time now. And it literally will take you on the journey of forgiveness. Surrender to what is. Surrender to now. Surrender to being in the moment. Surrender to love. Let go and let God. Let go and love. Let go of trying to control. Let go and let God. Surrender to what is. Surrender to love. Surrender to this divine moment. Surrender to now. Surrender. 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 forgive me, and I forgive myself. All is well.
Oh, how beautiful. Orgena Rose. Let's take a breath. Can you just feel the energy of surrender just from her singing it? And as you can tell, this month we're talking about forgiveness. You can feel the energy of forgiveness just in thinking about surrender, because that's what forgiveness is all about anyway. But before I get into that, just to say my usual monthly line, can you believe that we're in a new month already? This is October, and we are moving right along through this year, 2021. And we have a new theme for this month. Our theme this month is the givingness in forgiveness. The givingness in forgiveness. The givingness in forgiveness. And you know, there's a divine givingness in the universe. There's a principle of divine givingness. God has already given the gift. God is the gift. God has given all. Divine givingness lasts from eternity to eternity. And so that divine givingness that is always available must have a receivingness. Just like there's a givingness, there's got to be a receivingness. And that receivingness has to come through each one of us. And that's where forgiveness comes in. That's where forgiveness comes in. And my topic today is, whose is it? Whose is it? Whose givingness is it? Yes, as I said, God has already given. God is the gift itself. And there's always that divine givingness. And when we move into the act of forgiving, when we move into the act of releasing, when we move into the act of letting go, when we move into the act of not holding anything against anyone, including ourselves, then that becomes our givingness. That becomes our givingness, because we are opening ourselves up to that divine givingness that already is. We are opening ourselves up to become that receivingness that already is. That's just that givingness that is always seeking a receiver. And so as we open up through our forgiveness process, through our letting go process, through our releasing all those things that we get caught up in sometimes, all the things that our hearts get caught in, all the things that our minds get caught in, all the things our energy gets caught in. When we can just let that go, then we can become the receivers of that divine givingness. And just as there is a divine givingness, Ernest Holmes says, there's also a divine forgivingness. There's a divine forgivingness, because God doesn't hold anything against us. The universe doesn't hold anything against us. Life is for us. Life is for us. It doesn't hold anything against us. And so that divine forgivingness happens as we forgive. As we forgive, then forgiveness can happen for us. We can be forgiven by the fact that we forgive. And so just keeping all that in mind, that there is no sin but a mistake. And the mistakes that we make as we go through our lives and we are unwilling to release and let go, we continue the mistakes, we continue the mistakes, we continue the mistakes. And as we do that, then forgiveness can't happen. And when forgiveness can't happen, then we cannot experience our oneness with the all that is. We cannot experience the divine givingness that already is. We cannot experience the divine givingness from God, and we cannot experience our own givingness, the gift of forgiveness, our own givingness. And so let's take a breath and just really think about what forgiveness looks like, what forgiveness really is, what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not releasing someone from wrongdoing, condoning a wrongful act, or ignoring a wrongful act. It's none of that. That's not what it is. Forgiveness is just releasing and letting go. Forgiveness is not holding a grudge. Forgiveness is not holding resentment. Forgiveness is not holding guilt if it's against ourselves. Forgiveness is releasing, is letting go, is opening our hearts, opening our minds, and allowing that a place and space for the free flow of spirit to happen. And it's something that has to happen all the time. We have to be in that place of forgiveness all the time. We can't forgive over here and then hold grudges over there, or forgive this person, but don't forgive the next person, or condemn one person and say that we love another and then expect to be at one with God, because we can't do that. That oneness has to be total. We have to be in alignment. And if there's anything that's blocking in any area of our lives, in any place, even the smallest places, if there's a blockage of any kind, then we can't be in that place of oneness. We can't be in alignment with the all that is. And so what I'm going to be inviting us to do as we go through this month is to really look at what I like to call this walk in forgiveness. This walk in forgiveness. As we walk through our lives in forgiveness, that's what I'm going to be encouraging us to do this month, is to really look at how we can make it, as Martin Luther King says, forgiveness is not an occasional act. It is a constant attitude. Forgiveness is not an occasional act. It is a constant attitude, a constant attitude. And what Reverend Sherry says is that forgiveness there has to be an atmosphere of forgiveness. We have to live in an atmosphere of forgiveness. We have to create an atmosphere of forgiveness. We have to be an atmosphere of forgiveness. Through our very livingness, we have to be an atmosphere of forgiveness. We can, when we enter a room, when we enter a place, wherever we are the atmosphere of forgiveness, through our own forgiveness, through our own practice, through our own release, and through our own letting go. And this is something that requires our constant attention. It requires our constant attention. It requires our constant attention, because in this world today, particularly, there are so many things going on. There's so many, there's so much apparent divisiveness. There's so much apparent unrest. There's so many things that happen that disturb our peace, that disturb us deeply, that without even thinking, because we are human here, we do hold on. We do form judgment. We do form resentments. We do form those things that make us close our hearts when we see certain things happening in globally, and when we see things happening in our everyday lives, or things that happen to us individually. And so I'm inviting us to really look at the fact that when things like that come up, when challenges come up, when those things come up that really challenge us to remain open, it's really a call for us to move up higher. It's really a call for us to love more. It's really a call for us to trust more. It's really a call for us to be more. It's really a call for us to give more. It's really a call for us to open up more. It's a call for us to forgive more. There's always a call. And trust me, there's a call for us to forgive in almost every moment of every day. Something happens, and we must be mindful. We must be mindful as we learn to become that atmosphere of forgiveness, as we not only live in an atmosphere of forgiveness, but be that atmosphere of forgiveness. And so here are a few things that I just want you to really think about throughout this week. Throughout this week, refrain from the use of the word hate. Refrain from the use of the word hate. Refrain from the use of the word hate. Ernest Holmes said in the reading that no one can see God we cannot be at one with God who hates anyone or anything. One cannot be at one with God when we hate anyone or anything. And hate is such a word that is used so loosely. You hear people talk about hating everything, big things, little things, people, situations, circumstances, just hate, hate, hate. You hear people just use that word. But you know what? There are no throwaway words. There are no throwaway words. There are no throwaway words. All of our words have power. All of our words create. And hate has such dark and destructive energy. The word hate has such dark and destructive energy. That's the energy that we are putting out when we use the term hate, when we use the word hate with regard to anyone or anything. Hate means, it is a very strong word, but what it means is that we dislike something strongly. It's so much easier to say, if you got to say something, it's so much easier to say you dislike something. It's so much easier to say that you don't really, or I don't really like that, or whatever the case may be. And sometimes it's just not necessary to say any of it. It's just not necessary to say any of it. It's a matter of just taking a breath. Or just taking a breath and letting it go, whatever it is, taking a breath and not forming any opinion about it, taking a breath and not forming any judgment about it, taking a breath and not having any condemnation about it or criticism about anything or any person. And so I'm inviting you to really, really be mindful of how you use that word hate or when you use that word hate. And then really set your intention to refrain from using the word. If you hear yourself saying it, reframe it. Reframe it, because once you reframe the word, you have reframed the energy. Once you reframe the energy, then you have reframed your energy, and it helps you to open up even more. It helps us to open up even more, and as we open up even more, it helps us to be in alignment with the all that is. It helps us to be in alignment with the all that is. And so, really, it may sound like a little thing, but you'd be surprised at the power in that word hate. You'd be surprised at the energy around that word. And you'd be surprised at the difference it can make in your life. The difference it can make in your life when you just stop using it, when you stop thinking about it, when you stop even being in that place of hating anything or anyone, no matter what. No matter what. So let's take a breath together as we really think about that, because as I said, there are no throwaway words. No throwaway words. The second thing I'd like to invite you to do is to begin to see the world through the eyes of forgiveness. Begin to see the world through the eyes of forgiveness. Take a breath on that one. Begin to see the world through the eyes of forgiveness. You know, there are so many things going on. There's so many apparent wrongs. There's so many things that happen that are so out of alignment with oneness, that are so out of alignment with love, that are so out of alignment with treating each other as a part of this one family, this one life, this one source. There's so much that we get to see that is out of alignment with that we really have to learn how to see it through the eyes of forgiveness. See it through the eyes of forgiveness, learning to see it as it is, without judgment, without hate, without those strong feelings of resentment, without those strong feelings of condemnation, without any of that, and start to see things that are happening. As Ernest Holmes says, compassion is the most gentle of virtues. It is the most gentle of virtues, because we get to experience through compassion that divine givingness that is available to all. that divine givingness that is intended for all. And so because we see things through the eyes of compassion rather than through the eyes of judgment, doesn't mean that we're condoning it, doesn't mean that we're accepting it. It just means that we aren't holding those strong feelings of condemnation, of criticism, of things that would block us from experiencing oneness with God, oneness with spirit, the oneness with the givingness of spirit. And that's the important thing, is to recognize that all of this is about us. That's what whose is it? It's ours. The givingness of and forgiveness is for each one of us. The givingness, we're giving ourselves the gift of forgiveness when we get to see the world through the eyes of forgiveness. And one good place to start, as I said, is with TV, watching TV, because there's so many things on that we get to see, so many stories that we get to see, so many things that we hear, so many things that are going on in the world, that it's easy to clutch. It's easy to immediately form a judgment, form an opinion, form a criticism, or whatever the case may be, and to hold on to that. And as we hold on to that, the minute we hold on to it, then we start to block. We've created a block. The minute we grasp something that we don't like, and first of all say, I hate that, or hate them, whoever that person may be, that's a block that closes something. And then if we've been mindful enough not to use that word hate, and then we start to see things that really upset us, really disturb us, and form judgment about it, form criticism about it, form condemnation about it, then we have blocked even more. We've blocked even more. And every little block chips away at our opportunity to be at one with spirit, to be in that place of oneness. Because when we're in that place of oneness with open-heartedness, there's a chance for that givingness of spirit to flow through us. And we get to see through the eyes of forgiveness, we get to see through the eyes of compassion. And as we get to see things differently, then things can start to change. Because our consciousness lifts up, our consciousness is raised, our opportunity to see God and to know that God is in the midst of the things, even the things that we don't like, even the things that we see that are disturbing to us. When we can see it without judgment, when we can see it without condemnation, then we can see it and see God in it and know that God is in it. And then we can do the thing that we know to do, is to hold it in prayer. Is to hold it in prayer from a place of compassion, from a place of openness, from a place of open-heartedness, And that's what I'm inviting us to do, is to begin to see the world through the eyes of forgiveness. Take a deep breath, because that's not always easy. Begin to see the world not only out there on TV, but in our everyday lives, the people with whom we associate every day, in our households, in our families, with our friends, in our communities. There are always little things that happen that chip away at our ability to see the oneness, at our ability to see God, at our ability to be open and not form judgment and not form resentment. And so I'm inviting you to just take a breath. Just take a breath. And when you take a breath, you're taking a step back. And when we take that step back, begin to see things differently. Begin to see the world through the eyes of forgiveness, and being willing to do it differently, to see it differently, to move through the world differently. And then thirdly, I like to say, don't leave home without it. Don't leave home without it. Don't leave home without forgiveness. Let forgiveness be a survival technique in your life. Before leaving home, before or work, or wherever it is you are, before leaving where you are to go to the next place, always be in that place of making sure that you're not holding on to grudges, you're not holding on to condemnation, not holding on to judgment, that you are open and receptive, to people that you meet, that you're open and receptive to differences, because there are a lot of them. There are a lot of them in every walk of life, in every area of our lives. There are differences. There are people who think differently. There are people who act differently. There are people who talk differently. There are people who look differently than we do. And there are people who really can get on our nerves sometimes. And there are people on whose nerves we get. We have to keep that in mind also. There are people on whose nerves we get. And so we have to just keep in mind that we're in this thing together. We're in this life together. And so just walking through this life, one foot after another, putting one foot in front of another as we move forward, just really making sure that we are centered before we leave home. Making sure that we are centered before we walk out the door, making sure we are centered before we go in the grocery store, making sure we are centered before we get in our cars, making sure we are centered, that we are anchored in spirit, that we are in alignment with the all that is, that we are in alignment with love, that we are in alignment with that divine givingness, that we are in alignment with divine compassion, that we are in alignment with forgiveness. And let that be our survival technique. Because if we are not always aware of forgiveness, if we are not always aware of what's going on, then we can be seduced by situations and circumstances and events that come up that can suck us right back in to separation, to that sense of separation. And that's what's happening. We are either in alignment with the all that is, or we are feeling separate from the all that is. We are living as though we are separate from the all that is. And when we are living separately from each other, we are living out a belief in separation. And when we are holding anything against anybody, anywhere, then we are dealing with separation. We're dealing with separation. So that's when we move into that place of learning to forgive, learning to release, learning to let go of those harsh feelings, those hateful feelings, those hate-filled feelings, learning to let go of that and just allowing the love of God to flood our being, our entire being, allowing that love that is, allowing that allness and that fullness of God to just saturate us. I call that our survival technique, because it is important for us to survive. Because without forgiveness, we experience all kinds of physical difficulties, all kinds of emotional difficulties, all kinds of financial difficulties. And we're going to talk more and more as we go through this month about the many ways in which forgiveness, or the lack thereof, really affects every aspect of our lives. And so I'm inviting you today to use forgiveness as a survival technique. Don't leave home without it. When we leave home without it, and there's that common thing, that road rage thing that happens, we can get caught up in that. We can get caught up in that because we forget who we are. We forget who we are, and we get caught up in the things that are happening around us. But when we can be in that place of intentionally letting go of those things that we're holding on to, letting go of those things that would block, then we create that opening and that space through which God can work, through which that divine givingness can flow through us always. And so I invite you to really think about being that atmosphere of forgiveness, and just knowing that what that means is not holding grudges. I don't care how good it feels sometimes to be upset with somebody and just want to hold on to stuff. Unfortunately, I wouldn't say unfortunately, my mother used to say that it was unfortunate, because holding a grudge is not something I've been able to do in my life. That's just not the way that I live my life. And so if I'm upset with somebody, then I say what I have to say about it, deal with it as I need to deal with it, and then I'm done with it. And then the person can talk to me in the next 10 minutes and I'm ready to talk or whatever. And my mother always said that was, my father was that way. And my mother always said, you can't hold a grudge. You can't, somebody comes and talks to you, you're ready to talk immediately. People will always take advantage of you, she would tell me, because you're always so soft. And I couldn't understand what was wrong with that. It's like once we've talked it out, why can't we just be done with it? But that wasn't the way she was. She could hold a grudge for a pretty long time. Even though she was a very loving person, she could hold a grudge for a long time. And it never quite made sense to me. And it still doesn't. It still doesn't. And so I'm inviting you, why do we walk around holding grudges? Deal with issues as they come up. Deal with issues as they come up, and then release them and let them go. Because if you don't deal with them as they come up, and you don't deal with your feelings about things as they come up, then they morph into something else. They morph into something else. And that something else becomes a block. And that block becomes that which keeps us out of alignment with the all that is. It keeps us out of that place of oneness. It keeps us in that place of separation. And so I'm inviting you today to really be in that place of being an atmosphere of forgiveness as you walk through this time. And we'll walk through this month together with dealing with forgiveness and letting go and releasing and really opening ourselves up to have that open heart and that open-heartedness through which spirit can flow, through which the givingness, the divine givingness can flow through each one of us. So why don't we just turn within in this moment now and just take a deep breath and just allow ourselves to be in that place of knowing that the power and the presence of God is right here, right now, right where we are. Just knowing that that power and that presence is the only power, the only presence, the only love, the only life, the only mind, the only breath, the only activity is God. And this onlyness is my very life. It is the life of each of us here this day. And so as we move through this time, as we move through this day, as we move through this life, we do so with open hearts, with the intention of allowing our hearts to be open. And I speak the word of openness. I speak a word of forgiveness for each one of us, that each one of us keeps an open heart and open mind, releasing and letting go of judgment, releasing and letting go of fault, releasing and letting go of blaming, releasing and letting go of criticism and condemnation and all those things that we would hold against each other, against others, against ourselves. We release all that. We open our hearts, we open our minds, we open our entire being, just allowing that entire being to be filled up with that divine givingness that already is, the love and the life of God. And as we move into this place of oneness, then we get to experience all the gifts of the Spirit. We get to experience that healing of our hearts. We get to experience that healing in our body temples. We get to experience that healing in our relationships. We get to experience the healing in this world in which we live. We get to experience that healing that we call oneness, because we're healing that sense of separation. Our sense of separation from God, our sense of separation from each other, our sense of separation from forgiveness. We get to experience the healing of all this. And so as we walk forward into this day, I know that we each walk not only in an atmosphere of forgiveness, but we become that atmosphere of forgiveness throughout this day, throughout this time, throughout our lives. And so this prayer goes out to anyone needing a prayer this day. Anyone needing a prayer this day. I know that God is in the midst of everything that's going on, anything that's going on anywhere. God is in the midst of it. Every situation, every circumstance, every event, God is in the midst of everything. And that there's healing happening everywhere. Healing happening everywhere. And so I'm pausing momentarily so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer this day. You may speak their names silently or loud, and you may speak them now. And so for all those whose names were spoken here this day, I know that God is right where each of them is, blessing and keeping them. That God, the great comforter, God, the great healer, God is showing up as whatever it is the need may be, anywhere. Anyone on this planet needing a prayer this day, this word is spoken for them. for God is in the midst of everything that's going on in each individual life, each individual circumstance, each individual situation, and all situations and circumstances. And so I simply say, thank you, Father, Mother God, for the word spoken here this day. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for the perfect manifestation of this word spoken here today. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for everything. I simply allow it to be now. And so it is.
Well, thank you, Reverend Sherry, for that beautiful and powerful message on forgiveness. This is the time we participate in the divine law of giving and receiving by giving of our tithes and offerings. CLF is a tithing church, and we invite you to join us in this sacred practice by tithing here at CLF. Click the donate link on our website or in the comments in Zoom or on Facebook. You can also give through your smartphone by texting to give. We appreciate your continued financial support here at CLF. Let us now repeat our offering blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God, and so it is. And here again is Orgena Rose with our offering music.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, I got the call today I didn't want to hear, but I knew that it would come. An old true friend of ours called me on the phone. She said you found someone. And I thought of all the bad times and the struggles we went through, how I lost me and you lost you. What are all these voices outside love's open doors? Make us throw off our contentment and beg for something more. I'm learning to live without you now, and I miss you sometimes. The more I know, the less I understand. All the things I'd figured out, I'm learning them again. I've been trying to get down to the heart of the matter, but my will gets weak and my thoughts get so scattered. But I think it's about forgiveness. Forgiveness, even if you don't feel love anymore. These times are so uncertain. There's a yearning undefined and people filled with rage. We all need a little tenderness. How can love survive in such a graceless state? And the trust and self-assurance that leads to happiness are the very things that's killed, yes. Pride and competition won't fill these empty arms, and the walls we build between us, they won't keep us warm. I've been trying to get down to the heart of the matter, but my will gets weak and my thoughts seem to scatter. But I think it's about forgiveness. Forgiveness, even if you flesh gets weak, and my thought is scattered, but I think it's about forgiveness. Forgiveness, even if you don't feel love anymore. Oh, there are people in your life who've come and gone. They let you down. You know they hurt your pride. You gotta put it all behind you, 'cause life goes on. You keep carrying that anger, it'll lead you up inside. Yeah. But I know your heart is so shattered, but it's about forgiveness. Forgiveness, even if you don't feel love. I've been trying to get down to the heart of the matter, but my will gets weak and my thoughts get so scattered, but I think it's about forgiveness. Forgiveness, even if you don't feel love. Yeah. Even if you don't feel love anymore.
Thank you so much, Orgena Rose. It's great having you here with us today. We look forward to having you back with us real soon. Let's take a breath. I have a couple of closing announcements today. Don't forget that fellowship after service happens immediately after service today. And also to remind you that the Zoom prayer room is open immediately after service. For those of you who'd like to have prayer with a practitioner, you can come into the Zoom prayer room and practitioners will be waiting there to pray with you in individual breakout rooms. If you would like to send a written prayer request to practitioners, you can do that via email. Email practitioners at prayer@creativelivingfellowship.com, and the practitioners pray over your prayer request for 30 days. So feel free to reach out to them in that way. Or you can reach our on-call practitioners by calling practitioner whose name appears in the comments or on our website. Those practitioners are available to pray with you 24/7. So if you need prayer, want prayer, would like prayer, please avail yourself of those services, because you don't have to walk around with a heavy heart at all, because someone is here available to pray with you. Monday evenings, we have Monday practice with Reverend Jorge. A wonderful time and a wonderful activity to add to your spiritual practice. There's a different practice each week, and or deepening of the same practices each week. But whatever, it's a wonderful time to engage in spiritual practice with Reverend Jorge. It's from 6:30 to 7 on Monday evenings on Zoom or on Facebook. And I invite you to come out and join those of us who join Reverend Jorge on Monday evenings. Don't forget that the Tuesday Connection meeting happens every Tuesday. It's happening this week again. For the last 18 months, we've been doing this. And this week, we'll be having conscious conversations. So for those of you who'd like to come out and connect with us, with me on Tuesday evening from 6:30 to 7:45, that would be great. And we also have the Ernest Holmes book study that is a drop-in group, and it's still happening on Saturday mornings with Reverend Mary Jane Hyde from 10 to 12. And that is a wonderful way of adding something to your spiritual practice. One of the practitioners referred to Saturday morning book study as a part of a spiritual practice. And I really like that, because it really is. It's just something that I look so forward to, going deeper with the writings and teachings of Ernest Holmes, and with the group of us who have an opportunity to come together and discuss these at a deeper level than we ordinarily would have. So Saturday morning book study. And then there's a forgiveness class coming up. I'll be offering a forgiveness class, Forgiveness, the Final Frontier, that will be happening starting on October 14th and October 15th. That's a Thursday evening, 6:30 to 8:30, or Friday morning from 10 to 12. I invite you to come out and join me for that. Forgiveness is something that never ends. And we get a chance to practice it over and over and over again. and to deepen our practice of it and make it a real serious part of our spiritual practice. So I invite you to join me for the forgiveness class that's coming up in a couple of weeks, and you'll be hearing more about it as we go along. Let's take a breath as I remind you to use our community prayer, which is the treatment for supply, and continue to use it, continue to use it, and continue to use it. And of course, continuing to connect with each other, continuing to send those cards, those text messages, those phone calls, just to say, I love you, I'm thinking of you, I miss you. And that's what I'm saying to each of you this morning. I love you, I think of you, I miss you. And I know that we'll be back together before we know it. And meanwhile, let's stay connected with each other. Take good care. Let's sing our closing song now, our release.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm